Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Survival to Triumph show. My name's Laura Hill from Swansea in Wales, and tonight I've got my fantastic guest, my very good friend, my best friend really. This is Annalise Smith, and she's also from Swansea in Wales. And we are here tonight to talk about our experiences with the big C, with cancer. So myself, I've been through it, and also Annalise's little daughter, Violet. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Annalise, how many children you got, what you do, are you married? Let people know a little bit about you.
Okay, I have got two lovely girls. One is 15, who's Kayla, and my younger daughter, Violet, who is 6. I work in finance and I'm a busy mum, plus a busy worker, I suppose, and a busy wife.
Yeah, and you work full-time as well, isn't it?
I do work full-time,
yeah. So both busy mums. So we're going to start our journey at the start. So we're going to look back now we're going to go intermittently between mine and Annalise's story with her daughter, so we can have the shared experience of what was the diagnosis, how did you cope and everything. So we'll start with Annalise. So Annalise's daughter, Violet, is now 6 years old.
Yes.
And when you found out something was up, she was how old? 4.
It was her 4th birthday. Her birthday is in January, so it's quite dark in the mornings in January here. And when we were going down the stairs, doing our usual, let's open the presents in the hallway, Mum's obviously always got her camera on, taking pictures and videos. And I noticed that her right eye was very red from the light being on, and the left wasn't. It was just dull and white. And that's when I started thinking to myself, that doesn't look right. How are they so different? And then I started thinking to myself, I need to get it checked.
So you had a mother's instinct then?
Yes, yes.
So the white eye and the red eye, that was actually on the photograph that you've taken on the phone?
Plus video.
On the video?
Yeah, the video, well. Yeah. I was looking back at the video, thinking to myself, why is one eye completely lit up and why is the other eye not? And that made me think, then let's get this checked, make sure it's right.
Okay, so what did you do then to get it checked?
I first of all went to the GP, and the GP looked and she said, the way that the light is bouncing out of the left eye, it's not reacting, there's nothing. So I thought, right, okay, if there's no light going through the back of the eye, then maybe she's blind. I wear glasses myself, and I thought, if there's no light going in, it can't make a picture to go up to the brain. And I thought, oh, right, maybe she's blind then, maybe she's got no vision. And the GP then said, I'm going to refer her to be seen by an eye specialist.
Right.
And you'll be seen within a fortnight. I thought, right, okay. I left at that, left the doctors. But then the day after, it was still really annoying me. And I thought, I need to check if she's got any vision.
Yeah.
So then the next evening, I decided to play pirates with Violet. And first of all, we covered her eye, which I thought she didn't have no vision. And I said, can you see Daddy Pig? Can you see Mummy Pig? What am I holding now? And she could tell me everything. And then when it came to covering the eye with the vision, the right eye, I was asking her questions and she just didn't answer me. And I said, Violet, can you see this? Can you see that? And she just shook her head. She didn't want to tell me that she couldn't see anything. And that's when I knew there was a visual problem.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was a bit scary. It was a bit of a tummy drop moment, thinking, oh, right, well, my daughter doesn't have vision in her eye. Rang her dad, explained, and he said, okay, ring NHS Direct. And I rang them, and then I got seen that very evening. The doctor done the same checks as the doctor in my GP and said, you will be seen within a fortnight with a specialist.
Yeah. And
in the meantime, try and get her eyes tested tomorrow. And then we took her to the opticians the next morning. Her husband got an emergency appointment. And then the doctor noticed that there was a collection of blood at the back of the eye it looked like the retina had popped off, which would cause her not to have any vision. And she said she hasn't got any vision with that eye, but I need her to be seen by the emergency eyes doctor down in Singleton. So from the opticians, an hour later down the hospital, and that's when the doctor told us there's a growth, there's some sort of growth. And I asked him, when you say growth, what do you mean? And he said, potentially it's cancer.
Gosh.
Yeah. He said 90%. I think it was that. But at the time, you know, you're going through all of this emotion with all of these fears. And when you get told that, you're listening, but you're not taking it all in. But he did say, yeah, it looks like it's cancer. And when you just hear that word, it's like my body jumped out, my insides jumped out and just watched me going through this, trying to listen. And of course, straight away, instinct. So fight or flight. I've always been a fighter.
I know.
There's nothing different with me.
Everybody who went to school at least knows that.
So my instinct kicked in and I instantly said, okay, so what is the process? How do we fix this? And he said, it's a very treatable cancer, which was
great news.
Obviously, tears, emotion and everything, but that's good news. And then we decided, then we were told to come back on Monday to see a consultant.
Okay.
Then. But yeah, it was like something I've never experienced in my life. It's like the biggest thing. I have been through a lot of different things, and that has probably been the worst thing ever to have been told.
Yeah.
And experienced, really.
100%. Yeah. So we're going to do this in parts. So Alice is going to do her story, I'll do mine. So my point of, and I'll relate to some of what Alice is saying now because I went through similar. So basically mine was, I was almost 19 and I was having excruciating back pain. I just moved out from my parents. I'd just been in the house for a couple of weeks, a rented house. And anyway, the pain was so bad, called the GP. The GP came to the house, said he could feel a slipped disc, told me to lay on a board. So my mother said, come back home, we'll look after you, blah, blah, blah. So the pain got worse and worse. We had various doctors out. And then I think it was my 19th birthday. This is 1998, December. I was in so much pain. I vomited. The neighbour Debbie came over. I was holding a hand in pain. I drew blood on her hand. My mother was like crying, like I don't know what to do with her. Anyway, I was desperate for the loo one day for a wee, to urinate. And my mum helped me to walk with the pain across the landing. And we only got a few steps and my legs just collapsed from underneath me. They were in effect paralysed from the waist down. I couldn't go to the loo. My mum couldn't get me up off the floor. She's like, come on up now. Tried my hardest with my hands. They would not work, my legs. So anyway, long story short, ambulance was called, took me to hospital. I was in the accident emergency Morrison Hospital in Swansea. Cut a really long story short, they thought it was kidneys. They put me on a drip. They tried to see if I could wee because I hadn't weed all day. So I remember they had the tap on. They got me flicking the water in the tap. I was on the commode. They put a drip right through me. I still couldn't urinate. So they thought it was kidneys. I went up to that ward. I had the ultrasound. There was no kidney stones, no difficulties in that area. And then the next thing I remember is they were going to send me home. And my mum, she was very assertive with the doctor there, and said, I'm not taking her home. There's something wrong here. She can't use the toilet. There's something wrong. I think my mum said it's something neurological or something. And my mum told me the day, because I'd forgotten this, but the doctor said to her, you've got a mother's instinct, haven't you? And she said, yeah, something's not right with my daughter. So like you, she absolutely knew. So mother's instinct, this is a real thing. All your mothers know. We know when our children are ill, and we know when they pull in a fast one. Don't we? We know. So they took me up to, this is all hazy for me because, like Annalise was saying, with the shock of things, it's and I was also in excruciating pain. But all I can remember from it is being with my boyfriend at the time, Daniel, and I remember he was going to get a McDonald's, and I remember he left, and my parents left the room. I don't know if my auntie was there as well, I can't remember. And I was on this ward, but I can't remember anyone else being there. But I remember the doctor came, the surgeon came, and he had the MRI. So I had an MRI scan, So I had an MRI scan. Forgot that part. And then they brought out the scan, and there was all these diagrams. And he told me there was a tumor. He told me it was cancer, and he told me there's a 50% chance you never walk again. But I found out afterwards that they told my dad it was a 90% chance. And like you say, when
out-of-body experience.
Yeah, I kind of dissociated then. All I could hear, it was like he was going blah, blah, blah. His voice, like a slow record in my mind, his voice was whoa, whoa, like warped. And he was just pointing to these scans with a growth on. And I just turned to him, and I remember saying this. I said, "Can you just please stop now? I'm waiting for my McDonald's." And there was no me, no, I love McDonald's. I don't think I was trying to be humorous. I think I was just like, I don't want to hear this. Do not tell me this. I don't want to know. I just want to have my McDonald's and go home. Yeah, so denial, isn't it? The trauma. So denial, dissociation, shock, it's all part of the trauma. So I had my McDonald's. I think I really enjoyed it. And then I was due to have the operation the next day. It was like the last supper. And yeah, so they told me it was 50% chance never walk again. They told my dad 90% chance. And the truth was, it was 90% chance if they got it, because my tumor was the size of a plum and it was attached to the spinal cord. It was like wrapped around. So one wrong move, I would have been paralyzed. Or if it left any longer, it could have burst, and I would have been dead. So that's my story up to the point that your story is now, isn't it? So yeah, there was shock. There was and bits of very, very hazy for me, and I can't remember a lot of it. So let's move on now to treatment, and then we'll come back to my treatment then. So we've done the diagnosis part now.
Yeah.
So where did you have to go for treatment, and how long did it take to get to the treatment for Violet?
Okay. So when we were taken back to the hospital on the Monday, we had an incredible doctor, and unfortunately he passed away last year, which was really sad. Yeah. Sad. He done so much work for kids with retinoblastoma, which is the cancer that Violet had. So he was a fantastic doctor, and he kept calling us sausage, which was quite funny.
Oh, I love it.
He was a dream, and he did say, yes, it is cancer, but with my my instinct and my focus, I'd already written off Violet's eye. I'd already written it off because I thought, I was like, right, okay. And he said it is treatable. There's different ways to treat it, depending on the grade of the tumor. So they grade retinoblastoma tumors from A being the smallest and E being the largest.
Right.
Okay. Violet was an E.
Large.
So it was large.
Gosh.
Yeah. So he said, where would you like to be referred to? Because we'll get you in touch with the specialist team. And it was either London or Birmingham. And logistically, it was easier to travel to Birmingham than London. Yeah. So like, okay, we'll go to Birmingham.
Still a great distance.
Huge.
So how many hours is Birmingham for us? 3.5 hours?
3.5, maybe 4 on a bad day. So we were put in touch with Birmingham, and they contacted us within maybe, I don't know how many days it was really. It's so
Bloody.
Yeah, it could have been around maybe 5 days, and then they saw us the following week. But Violet had to go to Cardiff's kids unit. I think it's called Noah's Ark. I think, but again, it's just a blur.
Yeah,
because they had to do a scan to see if it was just within her eye retained, or whether she had anything else dotted around.
Yeah.
So I had to stay overnight in Cardiff with her. But I have to say, being in that ward and seeing so many other parents going through worse than what Violet had, I felt so relieved in a way that hers was treatable.
Yeah.
When you saw all these young children,
some of them are terminal.
Yeah. Or taking their medicine and being really unwell with it. They're having these medicines put in them, but then they're also not able to eat, or they're vomiting in bowls, and their parents just sitting there watching them. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
And I just thought, please let it just be in the eye so that we can just, sort that out and just move on. Yeah. Because I didn't want her to go. I saw these poor children, and I just, my heart was...
It's really frightening. And every time I hear the word big C, a lot of us, we just automatically think that it's death, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the first thing you think of when somebody mentions that, and it is a huge shock.
I have to say, though, we all think it, but when I was told, that didn't enter my mind.
Didn't it?
No, not at all. I just thought to myself, what do we need to do? And let's get it done.
Yeah, I kind of did with me, but it happened so fast. Like you said, that I was just thinking about McDonald's. It's just like,
we ate a lot of McDonald's when we were going back and forth.
Yeah, you do, innit? And hospital food isn't very nice. So I remember you telling me that there was a charity that paid for hotel rooms or something. For you
the hospital takes care of things. If parents have to come to hospital and they don't live near, they do put you up in a hospital that was just like a stone's throw away from the a hotel rather, a stone's throw away from the hospital. So everything like that was taken care of. But she had her scan, and then I think that was before we went to Birmingham. Or it might have been Birmingham said, right, she's got to go to Cardiff, get a scan done, then we decide what we're doing. And within 2.5 weeks, she had the operation then. The technical term is an enucleate the eye, but it's just to remove the eye because they needed to get it out,
So they needed to go and investigate, get the tumor out. Was there hope that the eye could have been saved then, or did you know that it was like, no, it's not happening?
So when they looked at the size, because it was an E, the best option was to take out the eye.
Yeah, how did you feel then?
I'd already written it off.
You've written it off.
Yeah, because they said, it's 90% chance it's going to be cancer. When they say it's 90% chance, it's only 10% chance it's not going to be.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, let's just write that off. But I already mentally prepared myself. I was just like, all over the weekend, when I first found out there was something in her eye, I was just like, right, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
I just decided I have to deal with it, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to cope. I had to mentally prepare myself for that. But technically it doesn't mentally prepare yourself, because when you do it then, or you go through whatever you have to go through, yes, you visualize the worst and hope for the best, but you just have to, I can't prepare you.
No, I can't. And to see a little girl, 4 years of age, just turned, going through this.
Yeah.
But she did so well, didn't she? I remember you sending me pictures.
Amazing. She doesn't really understand what she's gone through either.
No.
She knows that the doctor, when she was 4, it was difficult because she was so young. And you could only use certain type of terminology with her, because you don't want to upset them, frighten them, anything like that. And you just have to explain in quite baby terms because of her age. However, she's highly intelligent.
Yeah, she is.
So she's been here before.
She's funny, yeah. She's like,
so it was, we just had to say, they when you go to these places and they have to have their eye taken to save their life, basically, they say, right, okay, so you can give it a name and you can call it a superhero eye, a magic eye, but the parents, or Kayla, chose what the title was going to be for Violet to prepare her, and Kayla said magic eye.
yeah.
They gave the options of all these different things, and she said magic eye. So after the operation, she still didn't quite understand because she never had sight in her eye. So it's not like she all of a sudden overnight lost her vision.
Right, so it was there such a long time she never.
Well, they can never tell, because a child doesn't understand if their vision is that much or without, because they don't get told, when you close this eye, this one works.
Yeah,
you don't even say that to a child, do you?
That's a good thing, really, in a sense,
it
isn't
is,
it?
yeah.
But she didn't know, and she's young enough not
and adapt and learn
to
just have whatever vision she had. But we called it the magic eye, so that was it. From that day on, it was called a magic eye. And let me clean your magic eye. And then obviously, as she's gotten older, she asks more complex questions.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So let's just take it back. So the operation was a success at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got rid of it all.
Yeah.
How long was her sort of recovery period? The pain, was she in intensive care? Could it be in a normal ward? How long? And then how long did it take for her to come home?
She was just in a normal. I think it was it's tricky because the pandemic was just about to hit, because it was early 2020, and it was the end of January that Violet got an operation done. So she was in like a daycare ward, like an operations daycare ward.
Right, okay.
Because they had to rush her in. It couldn't be booked in. It had to be whenever there was a bed free to get her sorted. We had to just take that. Right. So she had the treatment there, the way the nurses treated her, the way they took care of us was incredible. Amazing. I can't commend them enough.
God bless you.
Amazing. Absolutely, yes. So, but we were on a ward with children who maybe had maybe broke their wrist and they had an operation, or
right, okay. Yeah.
Some kids had their tonsils out. It was that kind of.
It's like an in and out.
Yeah.
Quick. Yeah.
Whereas, of course, Violet's was a bit more, I don't know, invasive, I suppose.
Yeah. How long was she in theatre for?
2.5, 3 hours, I think.
Yeah. Good time then.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Let's take it back to my story now. Mm-hmm. And so we've done the diagnosis, both stories. We've had the treatment of Annalise's story, although there is more to come, which we'll explain in a moment. So back to my story with the treatment. So the MRI scan, I forgot to say that they also did a CT scan, CAT scan of my brain, because usually the type of tumour that I had on my spine is a result of one on the brain, which normally is a drip effect. My tumour was called empendoma and is a really rare tumour, and apparently the hospitals don't usually see it until somebody's already been paralysed. So I was really rare, and I remember having people come and see me and asking about me and wanted to know. Anyway, so luckily there was no tumour on the brain, which was great. It was just empendoma. So they took me down the next day. I can't really remember much about it, to be honest. I remember my mum and my auntie slept in a chair the day before. I was in a room, and I think it was 7 hours or 7.5 hours in theatre, and mine was the size of a plum, and it was wrapped around the spinal cord, and I've explained, one wrong move and everything. So I spoke to my mum the other day. She had a phone call from Mr. Buxton, my surgeon, and he was pleased. He got it all. It was wrapped around, but he managed to get it all off the spinal cord. There was none of it left in me. There was no drip effect. Like, you had to check with Violet for that.
Yeah.
And they got it all. And then my treatment then, I was in intensive care. I can't remember for how long. I know I was in hospital about two weeks. And some funny things happened in intensive care. Shall I say? Yeah. Okay. So I was in intensive care, and I had to lay down and be put like that, my head down, and I had a spinal drain and I had a catheter. So I had this bag with all the blood and the pus and the catheter, and nurses had to come and feed like with liquid soup or with a beaker. So I remember having tea in a beaker, and that was nice. And then obviously I'm laid, I can't, they have to move me and put pillows between my legs and stuff and keep turning me, not for bed sores. And I was on like a drip, and the little TV monitor above, and it made a beep noise. And in my mind, because I was high on morphine, I thought that I was flatlining like you see on Casualty and in the movies, and they come along on the defibrillator, the sound, right? And I was pressing the buzzer, the nurse's buzzer, because of the little, you know, like the little handheld thing. And I was shouting out, and I was terrified. I was like, I'm dying, you've got to come and rest. And I remember that, but I was so high, and it was so surreal. It was so scary. I thought I was dying. And the nurse came along, and she's like, oh, it's okay. It's just your drip, your saline needs changing. Top up. So thank God. And then another funny thing happened, because I was high as a kite, as my mum said. I swore to God I could hear my mum and my auntie Synth in the corridor waiting to come in, and they were talking loudly, and I was like pressing the buzzer for the nurse. And again, I'm laid flat, I can't sit up or anything. I'm laid flat, my head down, so I can't see anything. I can only see the ceiling, but I could hear them. And I was like, called it, and I said, oh, my mum, my auntie, can you let them in? They come in to see me. Like, there's nobody there. And I'm like, no, they're there, can you hear them? They're there. And I was arguing with the nurse, and I was obviously hearing things, and that was pretty scary as well, and frightening. And I remember I came out on Christmas Eve to come home for Christmas, but we didn't have I had quite an old mattress, and it was so uncomfortable. They had the bed downstairs, but it was just so uncomfortable. No, they didn't have the bed downstairs that moment, sorry. Anyway, I can't remember exactly what happened there. Sorry for being confused. But we didn't have a comfortable enough mattress, and I was in so much pain. I was in agony, and nothing was working. So Christmas Day, I had to go back into hospital. And then I was there. I came out New Year's Eve then. Yeah, so that wasn't very nice. So everything's a blur. I can't remember much about it. But I do remember being in pain. And I remember nice things, like the nurse, the day one of the nurses, I think one of the nurses called Hayley, and she used to come and sit on the chair and talk to me. And then when I put my Christmas cards up, I was in a little room, and then one day one of the nurses, I think it was Hayley, she washed my hair, and it felt so amazing. I had the bowl, and like, oh, I don't know, that just, you know, like little things. Oh, I felt amazing. So that was my immediate treatment at the time. So I'm going to go back over to you now. So with Violet, originally she had no eyeball put back in, was it? You had to keep it empty.
No, she did have one.
Oh, she had a clear one.
No, that was after.
I can't remember now. Sorry.
I know it's a lot, didn't it? So with Violet, she did have a magic eye put in straight away, bless her. And when she was coming in and out of consciousness, because she was on morphine to control her pain, bless her, she was complaining that her eye was hurting, and I just felt, oh, you poor thing. And she did have a magic eye. She had to keep a very tight bandage on for, I think it was 3 days, to try and compress to reduce swelling as much as possible. And then she was a little bit sick as well on day 2 and day 3. She started being a bit sick, so they had to put her into a room on her own. But it was better because she could sleep better, because obviously when you're on a busy ward, there's lots of different children with different needs, and it needs in a sense of their treatment, or if they're younger, they cry for milk, or it's a noisy place, isn't it?
Yeah, hospital noisy, lights are on, nurses giving medication.
So it was nicer that she was in a room where she could actually rest. But she did have a magic eye, which we wouldn't have seen for 3 or 4 days, because they had to keep the dressing on to ensure that they had to also stitch her eyelids together to ensure that it would stay in. They wanted to make sure that there wasn't any projection.
Oh, bless.
And then I think it was 3 or 4, I can't remember now because it's all so crazy and such a blur. Then it was time for us to take the dressing off to see how it was healing. And she had her new magic eye, bless, and it was blue like her own.
Yeah, right.
And it took a while to take the dressing off because she didn't like the stickiness being pulled on her cheeks, so they had to put the solution on to dissolve all the stickiness. And it's quite scary. She didn't feel ill, yet she was told, you're not well.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you've got a magic eye and you've got this massive patch on your face, we need to take it off.
Yeah, she just didn't understand. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, please.
I remember you telling me that they came up with a tray with all different eyeballs on with different colours, as if they were serving like hors d'oeuvres. Hors d'oeuvre. I said hors d'oeuvre. Hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah,
the canapes. Like, hey,
pick an eye. Anyway.
Pick an eye. I remember you telling me that. It's like,
that
what?
was way down the line after.
Oh, that was sorry.
Yeah. So it took a while for her to get her own prosthetic eye. But they did. Do you know what? Going through the last 18 months with her, first of all, what she had done, it had to be redone. She had to have fat put in her socket. So they had to take some fat from her tummy, which was really difficult because she's quite a scrawny child.
So this is a second operation now?
Second off.
So back up to Birmingham?
Yeah.
Right.
That was a year later, believe it or not.
That's
crazy,
insane.
I know. But after having the fat graft, then she had a clear case for a while.
Yeah.
Just so that we could see that it was healing. The fat was it was being taken on by the tissue inside a socket, so that it all started knitting together with the veins and everything. So it's amazing what they do. It's incredible. Science and medical science and surgery is just the things absolutely. They can make and do. But then it got to the point where, this kid's gonna have an eye that's made just like hers.
Oh, bless.
What a feeling,
I know.
And that's when we started going to Cardiff, to the ALAC clinic, where she saw the orbital prosthetic.
I don't know.
Don't know the
orbital sounds like right.
Orbital prosthetic specialist. And trying to get her confidence to take out the eye, because for over a year she'd gone through this trauma of, I say trauma, she whizzed through it, but she went through all of that saying, you've got a magic eye, we need to clean it daily, 3 times a day, 2 times a day, careful now.
Just pulling the eye out?
No, not for a whole year.
Oh, right. Kept the eye in for full. Right. Yeah. Eye in for full, you clean around it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Keep on top of it, drain any mucus out, it was. And then all of a sudden we said to her, right, okay, we're going to take your eye out.
Oh.
She's like, no, you're not. Yeah, come on, we're going to get you one that's just like the one you've got. You're trying to tell a 5-year-old that,
oh my gosh,
you've gone through all this now.
I'm a bit crazy myself. So
and now we're going to take it out. Oh my gosh.
How did you feel saying that?
I felt so upset and stressed, because I didn't know, because through all of this she's been fantastic, and she just accepted that she's a kid who now has a magic eye. I say accepted, there's difficult questions that I've had to try and answer, but then all of a sudden, right, okay, so you've got that magic eye now, but we're going to take that out. She's like, no. Who takes their eye out? Nobody sees another person take their eye out. So it was really difficult. I had to really, for weeks, I kept saying, right, okay, so in a couple of weeks now, we're going to get one that's just like yours. Trying to build her confidence.
Yeah.
And to
make it a fantastic, exciting thing.
Yeah, it's like you've been through so much. Why don't we get one that looks just like yours? And I felt so proud when we got one made and shaped and tailored for her. And when it was bespoke painted for her, it was just, even she could see the difference from the one that she got from the hospital just to tie her over, that looked in a different direction to where she was actually looking. It was like slightly off, which again is just a make do thing, and you have to do it, to one that looks really similar to. It's like, wow. Even she looked in the mirror and thought, wow, yeah, that does look better than, because I remember her saying when she was going back to school and she had her new colour dye, not the one that was bespoke, a new one after having a clear one. I said, are you excited to go back to school now and you've got your blue magic eye? And she looked in the mirror and she went, well, this is going to be weird and awkward. I said, why is it weird and awkward? Well, it's over there.
Oh, love her.
And I'm looking over here. And she said, that's going to just be awkward for me.
Oh, bless her. Well, she's right. She's right, isn't she?
Do you know what? Kid's not wrong.
Oh, she's not wrong. Oh,
no. But you could hear, you know, she was so much more mature in ways. You know, and for her to actually say, well, no, actually, I'm not going to feel fantastic going in because one looks over there and I'm looking at her. Or, you know, but then when she had this new eye,
it didn't do that.
She was like, wow. You could see it, the way she looked at it. She was like, yeah, this is definitely different to the one they just took out. And building her confidence to take that one out. When it's never been taken out when she was awake, because it was always under anesthetic, was a huge, huge step.
Does it hurt?
Not really. She doesn't.
Just uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, I suppose. And, you know, it's second nature now. But when they said, right, okay, so you need to take this out every day for 7 days, I was like, can you, excuse me, I've never taken one out. We've had a 12 months where she's never had to do this.
Yeah, that's nerve-wracking.
How do I do that?
Isn't it?
Yeah. So along the way, we had to learn skills and try and be brave in front of Violet when we didn't know what we were doing ourselves.
Did you feel squeamish yourself?
No.
You're right too.
Oh, I'm good with eyes. I pop my lenses in and out every day.
I don't even like anybody coming near me with mascara. I'm like, no, don't come near my eye.
So yeah, it was a big thing. But oh, do you know that looking at it, I was like, it's just like the one you've got. You know? So it was a lovely feeling.
Bless her. Oh, God love her. So in terms of any sort of physio exercise to build up the muscle, did you have to do any sort of face clenches or any cheek move, you know, like to strengthen the...
I can explain that one. So when Violet first did her operation, within like 3 weeks of diagnosis, that one didn't stay in. So she lost some sort of tissue mass.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they did explain, because of her being a complex case and that happening, it is likely that she wouldn't have much movement when she eventually gets everything sorted.
Right. Okay.
And they did say it was going to be a long process, which it was 12 months. But we'll get to a good result, which of course you look at the end game.
Yeah.
You know.
Too, yeah.
So, I mean, when she had her new bespoke eye, she was told left, right, you know, just to get, to try, because there is still muscle moving around in there, but because of her being so complex, they did say she'd probably lose a lot of it. I mean, she does, you can see it just ever so slightly moves, but it doesn't match, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Bless
but
her.
in terms of exercises, it's not going to make much of a difference anyway.
I was just wondering about that. So, let me think my story now. So I had the operation, there's recovery. I came out of hospital, so New Year's Eve, I came out of hospital, and my parents, so basically I was still renting the house that I'd only just moved into. I was a management trainee at Debenhams at the time on the A-level programme, hadn't been there long. Anyway, so I was back in mum and dad, which I didn't want to be because I was full-time working and had my independence, and then woof, got cancer, then operation, and you're on a bed downstairs in your mother's single bed. And I couldn't, I was very immobile. I couldn't get upstairs to use the commode. So my mother borrowed some old lady's spare commode.
Was it my grand's?
No, it was, it was my Auntie June. used to live up by you. It was her next door neighbour, Mrs. Stanton. She had a spare commode, an elderly lady, and Mrs. Stanton, if I'm correct with her name, she let us have it. So my muscles in my legs were completely gone. The calf muscle, you could go like that and it would just, because I'd been laying down, it had wasted my leg. It was just so skinny and wasted because your muscle mass just goes immediately. My mum had to help feed me, bring me drinks. I was having drinks with straws, like help me to sit up. I was obviously in a lot of pain. And then I had to do physio exercises in bed where I was like, my knees were up, I was on my back, and then I'd have to bring one leg. Now I can do it like this, like left and right. But at the time it was so hard to do. There was no muscle. My leg was like shaking like this, and then my brain was telling my leg, move. And it was like, it was so hard. It was so hard. I couldn't get socks on. My mum had to help me. I was 19, had to help me dress. I had a boyfriend at the time. It was really awkward. We didn't last much long after that, sadly, because it was just too much stress with the two of us. And my mental health suffered. I became severely depressed. And my bowels were not right because they didn't know, because my waterworks weren't working before the surgery. They weren't sure if that would come back. But it did come back. But my bowels were not normal, and I was constipated a lot, and it was awful. Sorry to be graphic. And I was on steroids, so I remember my face, one side of my face swelled up, the other one didn't. I went like a moon face. And then when I stopped taking them, like my face was like, it looked deformed, and that was really upsetting. Only 19, images everything, isn't it? You know, when you're that age, you're really conscious of yourself.
Symmetrical.
No, I wasn't symmetrical. And then I got to a stage then where they think it's because I was pumped full of drugs in hospital, morphine, painkillers, this painkiller, that painkiller, everything, more, steroids. And then when I got released from hospital, they just stopped a lot of them. And I had some kind of reaction, because even I have reaction to anesthetic. I go loopy on anesthetic. I go crazy. I get a really bad, like some people have that, they go to dentists and I go like loopy. So there's no wonder I went loopy after. So anyway, I remember watching the TV, and there was a news channel and it just had a hospital on, and I remember being terrified because there's a hospital on TV, and I felt like the TV was telling me that your cancer's coming back and it's going to kill you. And it was just like intrusive thoughts. So looking back now and knowing what I know about psychology, I think it was part medication and part the trauma. It was just really dissociating, and like my mind was somewhere else, and it was like all intrusive thoughts and hypervigilance and all that. And then one day I heard my parents arguing upstairs, but they weren't arguing, so like there was nobody arguing. Anyway, I had to have mental health support for that eventually. I was on antidepressants and I had to be seen quite suddenly, something happened, which I won't go into. But yeah, it was terrifying. And then after I got a bit better, that got my strength up physically. Me and my mum then, when they wanted to get me a wheelchair, my parents wanted to take me out, and I didn't want to be in one. I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to accept that. It was a denial. And then we'd walk down my mother's street. She'd walk arm in arm, and my walking, I walk like this, straight feet. But because I'd been operated on, and also they had to remove about 2.5 inches of bone from my spine to get into the tumor. So my back was very weak then, because there's only muscles going to hold my spine up. So I was all over the place with my walking, and one foot, my right foot, would like jut out and do like a funny movement like this, like a jerk when I would step, and it would do a jerk, and I was so embarrassed. And I was just a young girl, a young woman, wearing skimpy dresses, high heels, clubbing, dancing, really conscious of my own. I've never been the most beautiful girl in the world, but I was a child. I was slim and everything, and my appearance was really important to me. So for that, the thought of my foot going out and attention being drawn to me by this physicality of this thing. So anyway, I had to go to hospital then a couple of times a week, and as I was getting better, I had to have hydrotherapy in the pool, and I had physiotherapy because I obviously had to learn to walk again with the bars and build that strength up, and hydrotherapy is in the pool. And I remember I was telling you earlier, there was a really handsome Irish guy. I've got something for an Irish accent. I have a soft spot. Yeah. If you've got an Irish accent, a Southern Irish Dublin, there's just something about that accent. It's like my dream accent in the world. And he was a handsome fella. I can't even remember his name, but he's from Dublin. And I was 19. He must have only been in his early 20s. He was so handsome. And everybody else in the pool must have been over 70. And there's me now, and he has to hold me from behind, and I have to lean into him and lay down, and he's standing up behind me. So he almost has to like touch me, cuddle me. And they're in this big rubber ring with flipper feet on and weights on my feet, and it's just so embarrassing. Anyway, so that builds up, and then we have to go quite regularly over the years then to the oncology department at Singleton Hospital. To see about radiotherapy. And I remember seeing Simone, if you watch, I remember seeing you there. But I was so traumatized, I didn't want to talk about what had happened to me. And I almost I couldn't speak. My mouth was stuck. I was like muted with the trauma. So you, Simone, if you watch, and you came on to me, she was a porter at the time. Simone is one of our friends in school, as in my mum. And she's trying to make conversation with me. And it's kind of a blur, but I just couldn't. I too scared to look at it. I just couldn't. I was stuck. I was dumbfounded and stuck. Anyway, you have to go back and forth. So basically, if the tumor if it had been higher, I probably would have had to have radiotherapy. But because what it was my lumbar spine, my lower back. If they'd given me radiotherapy, it would have blasted my ovaries and I would have been infertile. So that's why they opted not to, but I had to have regular scans like every 6 months in the beginning. And then every time we go for one of them, or every time you have a back pain, it's like quite traumatizing again. You worry if there's a pain or an ache. It's really scary. So I had 10 years of that going back and forth. It was every 6 months and every year, about 10 years of doing that, going back and forth. But thank God it didn't. So that was my treatment story. I think I've covered all angles there. Let's go to you now with the next steps. So
in terms of Violet, answering some of her difficult questions that she throws at me, because she's 6 now and she's incredibly smart. And sometimes she just lies down in bed and she says to me, "Mummy, why did I have to have a magic eye?" It's like, I said, sometimes people have things happen to them and they just got to deal with it. That's the only answer I've got for her. I said, sometimes people have cancer or other illnesses that changes them forever. I said, you're one of those people. Or she'll throw a question at me. She asked me if my older daughter, she said, "Why didn't Kayla have cancer, but I had cancer?"
It's a valid question.
Valid. Or she'll say to me, "So Mummy, when I was born I born with cancer?" Yes. The answer is yes, you were born. So if I was born with cancer, did you have cancer in your tummy, which then gave me cancer? Tough one.
How do you even answer that, Annette?
We're answering it to a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
with honesty, without telling her.
How can you even do that, Annette?
Yeah. And she's also asked me, if you got cancer, do you die? Another tough one.
She's probably heard things now.
Well, it's always on the TV, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see sick people on the TV with cancer, they're always on about research. So she does throw questions and you have to think so hard in how you're answering them, because number one, she's just 6 and you can't terrify her.
Yeah,
and number
absolutely.
2, you can't lie to her, because then when she grows up, she'll say, "You lied to me. You told me it was this or that."
It's how to keep it age appropriate.
Age appropriate. And And sometimes it's really hard to keep her age appropriate because you can't lie to them, yet you can't tell them everything I've said to her is the truth.
Yeah.
I've said to her, you've had cancer. It happens to some people and not others. I've said to her that between 40 and 50 children a year are diagnosed with her type of cancer, which is rare.
Yeah.
I said, but it's treatable. I
Yeah,
said, there are
thank
lots of children in the UK just like you that have a magic eye. I said, but you can have cancer anywhere in your body. It just so happens that yours was in your eye.
Yeah.
I said, because obviously she might see a child on television or in public who might have maybe a limb missing, anything, these things. And she says, did that child have cancer?
Oh, bless her.
You know? So you do have to give her enough information to not be too worried, because you don't want to frighten them, but you don't want to lie to them either. You've got to protect them, but also educate them.
Yeah.
So I do get some really difficult questions. She's doing great now, obviously. And we're getting used to taking the eye in and out.
So how often do you have to do that now?
We take it out about once a week.
And you've got to clean inside the eye socket?
Not necessarily clean inside it. We just give her a nice wipe with some fresh, cooled, boiled water.
Yeah.
And we give the eye a wash with some baby shampoo or baby soap, something gentle. The actual prosthetic.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because it builds up with tears and things like that, so you have to wash it on quite a bit.
Yeah, I never thought of tears.
Yeah, because
so if she cries with one eye, she can't.
So she still has tears leave her eye, but generally, when you've got your eye, it does self-absorb a lot of liquid.
Right.
Whereas with the prosthetic, it can't do that because it's just plastic. So she does get collection of muck in her eye. Like in the cold weather, her eye does water a bit more because if the wind's blowing, the eye reacts, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it
so
does.
It gets a bit crusty or a bit mucky. But she cleans her in school herself.
Oh,
she's got a little mirror she takes to school. Yeah, and she's got her own little pot of
6 years old, guys. 6 years old. Amazing.
Yeah, she's got no choice.
I know, that's incredible though, isn't it? So with pain and things now, is there any pain with her now? Like no physical pain?
No, I wouldn't say so. Unless she sticks her own finger in her eye. But no, she's not in any pain. I mean, she does sometimes well, no, she doesn't actually complain her eye hurts.
Yeah.
Not unless I've put it back in wonky and it's not comfortable.
That's really good.
That's easily fixed. Take it out and pop it back in the right way.
Yeah, just some discomfort. Well, with myself, with pain, I wasn't meant to have gained weight. I was told to be swimming, cycling, walking, and many of us were told things for health reasons. We do it for certain reasons, or we dip in and out, and I'm one of them. So I do get you probably notice when I'm doing these videos, I don't know if anybody noticed, but I'm often like this, adjusting my position. I'm sitting cross-legged and move my leg. If you see me on my videos being fidgety, that is why. Pain, no. Aches, yes. Dull aches, yes. If I'm sitting down, driving for too long, yeah. Standing still, washing dishes is a big one. It really aches and I've got to move around. Sometimes if I'm in people's houses who know me, I will just get on the floor and start stretching. I normally only do this in my mum's house. I've been in jobs. I remember working in Trav City and I'd have to get on the floor sometimes and stretch out. And some days, not a lot of people know this. I don't even know if you know it. Well, you probably don't even know it. But some days I can't get the laundry from the washing machine in a basket, and some days if it's too achy, and get it to the tumble dryer and stand up and bend and empty it in. Sometimes I've got to, well, most of the time, sit down in front of the washing machine, empty it, slide the basket across the floor, stand up, walk to the other side of the room, sit down to put it in, so I'm not that bending movement. And for instance, when I used to have you come around and do my hair in the house and you'd have to bend over to the bath to wash my hair, or when my friend Debbie used to do it, that would really be uncomfortable for me, because just that
Stretch
the
over.
arch, yeah. And also when I was 28, I started having upper back pain. You can hear that? Yeah, so the whole of my back. So basically I had MRI scan, and I've got degenerative disc disease. I don't talk about it. I don't even know if you know.
I don't think you mentioned that.
No, I haven't mentioned it to you. And I was getting married at the age of 29. And I told the doctor again denial. I was like, you can't tell me this, I'm getting married next year. So basically it's probably because my lower spine has had the bone removed, about 2.5 inches. It's about 2.5 inches, yeah. So I got bone removed. So that's kind of made things a little bit off. So the top of my spine, and I've got a curve in my neck. Can you see that? Pull my top down. Touch my neck.
Oh yeah.
Right. So I've got a curve now, which is basically there where the discs are rubbing together and have worn away. And my neck, I don't know if you can hear that on camera. You can hear it. Can you hear that?
Yeah. It's a bit gross.
So the top of my spine, top of my shoulders and everything sees up. And sometimes it's so bad. Like if I'm with my mum, sometimes I've just got to get up and go. I'm like a bear against a tree. Like I've got to like self-massage.
I've seen you doing that in my house and I didn't know why.
Oh, that's why. You didn't know why that was?
No. Just thought you had an itchy back.
No, that's why. And I've never been back since, because I don't want to face it at the moment, which is probably really bad.
Tell me that?
Because if I talk about it, it brings it into fruition.
Oh, right,
So
okay.
I've been in denial with that for many years, but the whole of the back can seize it. And when Finney was small, I used to make him like sit on me and do his elbows and put his feet to give me a massage. And when I've had a massage in Greece many years ago, the massage therapist was like, "What's wrong with your back?"
Oh, it's not there.
And I was like, it's a long story, you don't want to know, because like obviously there's two different issues. Yeah. And he's like, "Your back is like rocks." He couldn't do the knots. Like there were so many knots, he couldn't break them down. And he was on me with his elbow and everything. So that's it. And even at the moment, it's quite uncomfortable. Every day I live with that. I don't take painkillers for it. I just go into denial about it and try not to think about it and be positive about it. But hey ho, so that's probably the consequence of the lower bit being out of jig. Yeah. So that's how it affects me today. Also, I've had an operation on my shoulder. So that doesn't help the whole upper back thing either, because I had a dislocation repair back in 2011. So I need an MOT to be fixed, but we're okay at the moment. I'm happy, I'm loving life. And I've lived with these things for so long now, they're just part of me. And it's just how it is. I try not to think about them. So those are the consequences of it. Luckily, I've never had to have chemotherapy or radiotherapy, thank God. Yeah. And having the all clear at the 10-year mark in 2008 was a huge thing. And we were talking actually that sometimes the worst times of your life can lead on to the best times. Yeah. So you can go on and say about how it's made you look at life differently. Okay.
So if I start at the beginning and move toward the end, when things first happened with Violet, you hit robotic mode.
Yeah.
Deal with it. Okay. So there was lots of things. My emotions were it was like fast forward 100 miles an hour, trying to deal with, number one, protecting my daughter and trying to get her fixed, but also I don't know why, I thought by repressing my own emotions, I was trying to protect my friends and family, because I didn't want them to worry about myself as well as my daughter.
Yeah.
So I was putting on this massive front. I'm fine. This is what's happening next. We are going to do this. I mean, the amount of different things I felt guilty that I didn't realize my daughter had cancer. And I thought to myself, if I had been maybe a part-time working parent, I might have been taking more pictures and noticing it sooner, and she wouldn't have had her eye out. So I had the guilt.
The what ifs.
The what ifs, yeah. But, you know, life's too short to think of what ifs, Laura.
But you don't see that at the time when you're going through it, isn't it?
No. I had self-loathing because I thought I was a really rubbish parent for not knowing that my daughter had cancer. And I just thought, I always thought I was quite a good parent. And then I thought, I can't have been a good parent because I didn't see this happening, because I'm such a control freak about how I bring my children up and making sure that they don't go through these scrapes in life, that how could I not have seen that? I was angry. And I just thought to myself, it got to a point where I wasn't taking care of myself. The sleep left me. I didn't need to sleep. I had to stay awake constantly because when you go through a huge amount of stress, your stresses they can continue and escalate. So I was always on high alert constantly.
Yeah.
The way I took care of myself changed. I wasn't eating correctly. And then my husband noticed that I was like starting to plummet. And he said, I think you need to go and maybe talk to someone who wasn't a friend or a family, because I could take away from that and talk to someone that didn't know me. And it's their job to talk to people who are going through rough times. And yes, it wasn't me who had cancer, but it was my daughter. So I went to Maggie's in Singleton Hospital, and that really, really helped me.
So for anybody not living in Swansea, so Maggie's is a centre where a lady called Maggie had cancer, and then they fundraised in the Swansea area, and they built this centre which is for cancer victims and their families. They can go in and just have coffee and cake, just talk to someone. There's volunteers working there. It's amazing. It wasn't about when I had cancer, and if it had, I think I would definitely have gone.
Do you know what 100%. Though? That building alone, it's like a sanctuary. It's like you walk in and you can feel the weight lift from your shoulders when you go in and you just say, I need help.
So you just walked in and
I just burst into tears. I felt really embarrassed because I didn't know how to say the words, my daughter has cancer, because I was too scared to say it, because I didn't know how I'd react, and I did react the way I thought I was going to react. So I felt really annoyed.
So you had the dumbfounded thing like I had then, like too traumatized. You couldn't too shocked. Yeah, it was scary when that happens.
I only had it with the people there.
Yeah.
I was quite happily saying, my daughter's got cancer and she's going through this treatment, when it was talking to family and friends. I had this front on.
Yeah, you did have a front on.
I did.
Because I was talking to you on the phone, and I phoned you quite a few times, like every update, like let me know. I remember ringing you from work, or you ringing me from the hospital, and I was like,
this isn't real.
No,
this girl's too calm.
No, I knew you were just going to crash and burn. It was just going to hit you. I just knew you were just robotic.
Yeah,
and that happens in trauma. That happens
to the next step. Yeah,
it happens with sudden illness, sudden death of people.
Yeah,
you know, absolutely. So you went in, you burst into tears. So who coming to see? Was it volunteer or
a cancer nurse, really? I don't know what her title was, but she sat down with me and I said, I'm not coping. And she said, Annalise, you are coping. She said, I can't believe you're going through this, yet you've come here today on your own to try and look for help. She said you were doing really, really well. I was like, well, I don't feel like it. I feel like I'm a rubbish parent. I feel like I should be much stronger for my family. Yet I was. I didn't see
the
strength that I had within me.
Yeah.
But going there really helped. But then, of course, pandemic hit and everything closed down.
Yeah.
So that was really tricky because I had a little bit of an outreach, but then it was all taken away because of the pandemic.
Imagine it.
And it was really tricky to deal with things. I had this lovely this charity, and a lady called Sarah, she was like the charity representative who helped people in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And the charity is called Checked, Childhood eye cancer trust. And I rang her one day because I didn't want Violet to have the second lot of surgery. I was paranoid that she'd been put under so many times that I didn't want to do it again. I was like, she looks fine as she is. Let's not do that. I said, the longer I'm waiting, the less I wanted to go under again. I was getting really stressed.
Yeah.
But when she talked to me, she was like, okay, Annalise, I understand what you're going through. So she was really helpful. But coming to where I am now, I look back at what I had to, muscle through and get through with Violet and the rest of my family, Kayla, I felt like she didn't have a parent for like 12 months.
Yeah.
Because we were so focused on getting Violet through every stage. It's like that she almost had to, she was obviously with us and we were doing things with her, but it's almost as if we had to focus on that. I feel guilty for that. It's like I lost a whole year. I didn't. But it's like, I should have been more for her as well. But of course, you have to do what you have to do. Yeah. But being where I am now and I look back, I do feel I look at the world completely differently. You don't know what a person is going through when they walk through I'm in work, and if someone comes in and they're not right, or they're a bit blunt, or if they're looking like they're going through something, I just think to myself, they could be going through something like I did.
Yeah.
You only see what's in front of you. Never judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely. So it's actually brought you more compassion for others, maybe?
I was always compassionate for everyone. However, it's made me realize that life's too short to worry about the materialistic things, the things that you get judged on.
Yeah.
Life's way too short, and you need to embrace the fact that the human mind is an incredible thing. It can get you through a lot of really dark stuff.
Yeah.
And the power within yourself is just something else. It is something else.
And I think what you've described there, we've heard of this cliche, haven't we? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And everyone says that. It's really annoying when they say
however,
it is true, and it builds resilience and it's character building, and it makes you look at the world a different way. In my own experience, at the aftermath of that, my dad's auntie, she gave me a check in the post, and I went on a holiday with my friend Emma. If you're watching, Emma McDade or Emma Stevens used to be from Primark, one of the managers there. We were really good friends years ago, because we worked in Primark together. We went on a Club 1830 holiday to Zante. So the operation was in the December now. I had 6 months off work. So this is probably February, March, April, May, June. I'd probably just gone back to work. Yeah, that took me to the June as a management trainee in Debenhams. And then we went on a Club 1830 holiday. And I remember just loving the sun. Obviously, I loved the partying, but it was the sun and the heat and the beach and the lifestyle and going in the sea and the pool. And I remember thinking, in my current job, I'm 19, and I got a really responsible position, because at one point I was running fashion accessories, and I was also working in women's wear at one point. I had all this responsibility, and I'm like, I don't know if I want that now. And I remember thinking, I'm in Debenhams, God bless Debenhams now, it's all closed, isn't it? But, I'm going to work in the winter, in the dark, at the bus stop, and I'm coming home in the dark, and I'm in the Quadrant shopping centre, which has no natural light in the store at all, no window to look out and see the sunshine, see the moon, whatever. And here I am in this open sky, and everything looked different. The sky looked bluer, the sea, I'd never seen turquoise sea before, I remember being mesmerised. And then I remember seeing the reps and seeing just how happy they looked, and I was just on form, and I just loved it. And I remember we were there for 2 weeks, and on the day before coming home, I cried on the balcony. I didn't want to come home, and that made me decide I'm going to live overseas. Like, I kind of knew when I was about 14 in French class. I remember going to the library, and I didn't return a book, so sorry, Kevin Hayne Guide. It was a very old book, and it was like how to get a job abroad or something, it said. And I wanted to be an au pair in France. And I still have that, I think, my loft. But I kind of knew I wanted to do that. But and that's what it was. And then basically, so that was the June of 1999. So the operation was December 1998, June of 1999. And by the following March, I was living in Gran Canaria. So the worst...
sorry. I remember when you told me that you were going away. I was like, my best friend's going away. How dare she? Can't live my life without my bestie. No. I was like, don't leave me. Don't leave
Never
me.
leave her. Never left you. She came to see me.
I did.
So a few times. So I flew home for a wedding. So basically for the best part of 4 years, I lived in Gran Canaria, Mallorca, Turkey. And you came to Gran Canaria, didn't you?
Yeah.
You came to Mallorca.
Yeah.
And then I went home for the wedding for a couple of days. Yeah. So we've been separated by countries.
Hasn't done much, so.
No. And we still kept in touch.
Yeah. We used to write letters to each other before we had mobiles, like proper.
I've still got my JMC, my rucksack from Reppin up the loft. I hope that because my loft, the tiles went during the storm, so I'm hoping that didn't get damaged, because I don't know what's got damaged at the loft, because the rain came in, because it was 2 days without a roof, a big hole in my roof.
Storm Eunice.
Eunice, yeah. But I've got a bright green JMC rucksack, which is like Kermit green, and inside there I have got stacks, and I'm talking stacks of letters from my mum, from you, from like Nat from college, and different people, and Jess.
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Yeah, go on.
Did I send you a wedding invitation abroad? Did I do that or not?
I can't even remember.
I don't think I did.
I don't think you did. But I remember coming home and asking for time off.
Maybe we called each other. We did do a few phone calls, didn't we?
Yeah, there's a few phone calls on the payphone, and there was the text, but they used to run out of money so quickly, because obviously I had a foreign phone number and everything. My credit would go like pay as you go so fast. We might have done by email, man, because I used to go to the internet cafe.
You're talking Annalise now.
Or maybe you didn't have email.
No, I didn't.
But anyway, so I came home for the wedding. So that then literally was like the best few years of my life at that point, and it was amazing. So the worst times of your life, like you say, it felt life's too short, take the bull by the horns.
Yeah.
I'm doubting my career in Debenhams. Maybe I'm too young to be having such responsibility. I need to have fun. And it's that kind of mentality, like, you know, my mortality was questioned.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I might not get a chance to do this again, so I'm gonna think. But then it went the other way then, because I kind of had that devil may care attitude for many, many years, and then it kind of like got me into trouble, like financially, and all the rest of it. But I don't regret any of it, because it's
memories.
It's character building, and memories. But yeah, so that is that. And today I'm really happy. I've been through a lot of other stuff, because this is the roller coaster. We can do other programs and the other things, you know. Life doesn't go bad and then you get up and it stays up forever. You know, it goes up and down, as anybody will know. Everybody's gone through trauma, isn't it?
You ride the wave, don't you?
Yeah.
You continue to ride the wave till it hits the shore, and then you either crash or you just walk onto the beach.
And I crashed and burned a few times since all that time ago. I've suffered with depression quite a few times. You know, my mental health has been up and down, but now it's controlled, it's stable, and I feel good.
And that's what we want to know.
Yeah, and that's what we want to know. And you know, obviously some people watching this, you know, they may have lost loved ones from cancer, and obviously that's a different ball game altogether, isn't it? You know, I've got friends who have, but then there's many of us who have been touched by it and have come through it. Maybe it's breast cancer, and you know, sadly for my own dad, he lost his mum when he was 13 years of age. She was 43, breast cancer. So he was 13, his brother Peter was 16, and his sister Cynthia was 19 years of age, and then she had to take a break. So yeah, so that was
not everyone is lucky as that.
Not everyone is as lucky as us. So we have to be, again, we have to find the blessing and count your blessings.
Absolutely, yes.
And you know, and like Annalise said, if you feel that you're trying to hold it together for your friends and family,
don't have to.
No, you don't have to. You can let the mask fall. And I was trying to, I don't know if I was trying to hold it together for anybody else at the time. I think I was just trying to hold it together for myself, because I thought, if I talk about this, I could feel it. It was there. It was too scary. I didn't want to face that. So when I was abroad repping, I was like this different persona. And I'd also gone through heartbreak because my teenage relationship had ended. So I was running away from that as well. But it's like, and then when people used to ask me, I don't know if I said on the camera already.
I don't think you have.
No. When obviously wear a bikini on the beach, and I've got a scar, it's probably about this long, and back, you can't hardly see it now because I'm 42. But only a few years after the operation, it was quite red. And bobbly at the bottom, you know, it was like lumpy. And people would say, oh gosh, what's wrong with your back? And I was like, oh, I've had a disc operation. And then people would accept that. I didn't want to go into, because when you say, like that woman in the pharmacy.
Boots, I haven't mentioned that.
Boots. Oh, you haven't mentioned it, yeah.
No.
All right, we'll mention it in a minute. We've had a little chat before we come on. So basically, when you say the cancer word, everybody automatically goes, oh my God. And it's a natural reaction, but it's this sympathy, and it's so output, and everybody wants to know.
It's overwhelming as well.
It's overwhelming, and everybody wants to know, how did you know you got that? How? And it's such a long story, as you just explained. It's not like, oh, this happened and then I found a lump and then it wasn't like that. It's such a long story to tell, and it's
but also
emotional.
When you tell it, I found that I did tell people, but I was always like, oh, I hope they don't react really badly now and be so upset and sad, because I didn't want them to be sad for my daughter, because she's here, and I didn't want to watch their face when they realize they've asked a question and it's a tricky answer.
And you have this,
because then I had to carry that.
I'd
have to carry that then, you know. Obviously I went to my local Boots because Violet needed swabs to clean her eye on a regular basis, and it was maybe 2 weeks after her operation, and her eye was still a bit puffy, and I had this lovely lady at the till, and I was buying swabs, and bless her, she's lovely and chatty, and she said, oh, what's wrong with her eye? Does she have a sty? Is it conjunctivitis? And I just blurted out, no, she's had cancer in her eye and she's had to have it removed.
Oh God,
and the poor lady's face, I felt awful, but I didn't feel I should had to have lied.
No.
However, that reaction straight away, I just felt like, oh, please don't feel sorry for us. You know, don't do that, because it makes me feel worse, and that's why I hid it a lot from my family.
It makes you feel worse. It does make you feel worse, because it's like this poor you, and it's like overwhelming, and it's too much. It's like, leave me alone. And it's like, when I was in the environment of repping, obviously there was a lot of reps. There's about 90 of us in the north. So once one person knows, then they would tell someone else, and then I didn't want to be known as the sad girl with cancer. You know, I didn't want anybody's sympathy. I just wanted to have a good time. And I did tell a couple of people. I told Emily, she's now Emma Jacks, if you're watching them, she was my roommate at one point in Port Pleasant, and I think I told Chris White, he now owns Ideal Home to Portugal, I told him as well. I can't remember, really just close people I mentioned it to. And in my daily life, because like some people, when I was thinking about coming on to do my story, some people on my Facebook who've known me all my life didn't even know.
Never.
Some people, they didn't know. And then years ago then, I remember coming back from repping, and I went clubbing, and a couple of the boys at school were like, how are you out? I thought you were in a wheelchair. Because rumours, Chinese whispers, they never saw me, but what it was, I was abroad having a good time, because they hadn't seen me for so long. They thought that I'd been in a wheelchair. And you know, to this day, if I see a young girl in a wheelchair, it makes me shudder inside, and I'm like, that was almost me. I saw one the other day. It's kind of like a reminder.
It can happen to anyone.
And then it's like, thank God, I was a lucky one. I was a lucky
Count
one.
your blessings, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely count all your blessings. So how do you feel now moving forward? What's the future for Violet now? Will she have to have any more tests? Do you have any worries about school friends?
No, she's pretty good in school, actually. Yeah, she's pretty good in school. She's a popular kid to be around because she's just she's just hysterical. She did say today when we were chatting about people's age, and I said, "Oh," she said, "How old is Joanne?" Now, Joanne is my older sister. I said, "Oh, I said, oh, Violet, I don't know how old I am." I said, hold on a minute. I think
you don't know how old you are.
Yeah, I forgot how old I was. Am I 42 or 43?
You're 42.
Oh, great. Okay.
You're 43 in September.
Great, that's my thought. So Violet was laughing at me, and I said, how old's your dad? How old is he? I think he's 44 this year. And she went, wow, he's like almost 100. I was like, yeah,
well, yeah,
really?
I suppose so much more than being 6, isn't it?
I said, what's half of 100, Violet? She's like, I'm not sure. I said, so what's half of 10? And she said, I said, if you held all your hands up and you took half of it away, how old? And she went, oh, well, that's 5 then. And I said, yeah. So half of 100 is 50. So I don't think Dad's nearly 100 yet.
He's almost middle-aged, though.
He's semi-middle-aged, yeah.
Well, once you get to 50, you are middle-aged, isn't it?
That's a scary thought.
We're probably middle-aged now.
Really?
Yeah, anyway, do you know what? We can't complain about getting older, and all the wrinkles and everything, they're all a blessing, because at the end of the day, some of us don't make it. And my friend Alison, God bless her soul, she's been passed away almost a year now, and she's 46, and she dropped down with a brain hemorrhage. So whenever I hear people moaning about their age, I'm not accepting it, because you are blessed. It's a privilege to live. Yeah. Oh, and Jessica Ebenezer, if you even watch this, did you see Jessica's thing? Jessica's birthday's on the 13th of March, and she's been celebrating all week long on Facebook.
She did a nude picture.
She did a nude picture. She was down. I can't believe it. Jess, you naughty girl. She was down 10B for her birthday in this beautiful hotel window with the drapes. And she had her 40th, what was it? What kind of hat was it?
Pilot hat?
Like a posh pilot hat with it had peacock
diamantes
and everything. And there's a picture of her. So obviously she's not showing her front part, but she's standing with gin, I think. And it looks like a professional photo shoot. And you know what? I was like, although I wouldn't do it, but I was like, yes. And she's not even 40 yet. She's milking it. She's 40 on the 13th of March, I swear.
Oh, she's celebrating early.
She's celebrating. She's milking it. So she was like 40.
Good for her.
But you know what? I was like, I love that, because that is just...
it's about that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for everybody else if you don't know who these people are. I do apologise, but she's just a mad friend. And she just totally embraced it. And that's what you've got to do. So if you're 70 or 80 or 50 or 60, you moan about your wrinkles, stop, because we are blessed.
Do you know what? In work, we have
stop it.
People of, massive different ages. And when someone comes in and they're in their 90s, and they say, oh, I say to them, what a wonderful age to be.
Yeah.
To get to that or beyond.
Yeah.
I just love that, because life's just beautiful, isn't it?
It is. And I've got a sign up there, none of you can see it, but it's a sign on my wall in my lounge, and it says, life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. See, that's a nice sign.
Yeah.
This thing.
So take that on board, guys.
Yeah, take it on board. Do you think we've come to the end now?
I think we need to wrap it up, don't we? It's like 25 past 9.
We've gone 25 minutes over. We knew we would go over a bit because there's 2 stories to tell.
Yeah.
I hope that you guys have enjoyed our tale, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching it on replay. if you do have any questions or queries, you can inbox myself or write on the thing, and maybe Annalise and I can write back tomorrow. I will be uploading to YouTube, but I might leave it till tomorrow to do because I'm quite tired now and I got work in the morning.
Gotta get a Jimmy Jams on.
Gotta get my Jimmy Jams on, and I'm up at 6 anyway with Finley.
Me too.
So yeah, we did it.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Episode 8, that's a wrap. See you next week. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. We did it.